What's up, guys? Welcome to Cage Connor. I am Connor. It's gonna be my preview show for UFC Noche 3, the third of the UFC Noches, which is weird because I think we've been doing this for longer than 3 years, but I don't know. I guess I could be wrong. When did this start? I guess with Valentina and Alexa Grasso 2 was the first one. Which that card was stacked because that was a fight night and it had a title fight on it. And then last year, of course, we got the Sphere card with Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, which was a pay-per-view. So I guess this is technically the worst UFC Noche card, but I still think it's a pretty good card. This card decently stacked, not the worst fight night I ever seen. At least we're out of the Apex. I believe this card is taking place in San Antonio, Texas. Was supposed to take place somewhere in Mexico, but the arena wasn't ready or some shit. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Then I think they were gonna move to Vegas, but of course, Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford is going down in Vegas this weekend, so they probably didn't want to compete with that. So whatever, here we are, San Antonio, Texas, going down. UFC Noche 3, Diego Lopez versus Jean Silva. Pretty hyped for this card. I like the main event quite a bit. Some decent fights sprinkled throughout the prelims and the main card, and yeah, solid card here. So let's get into it. Before we do that, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel over at Cage Counter. You're probably there right now, and I very much appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Thank you so much. Like the video too, or whatever the fuck. Okay, let's get into the full video then. Of course, in your main event, Diego Lopez will be taking on Jean Silva. Diego Lopez coming in at plus 200. Jean Silva coming in at minus 265. Last of the fighting nerds to not lose in the UFC here after last weekend, taking a big hit with the fighting nerds with Kyle Baralio and Mauricio Ruffy losing. Now Jean Silva stepping up to the plate here. Can he get it done? I don't know. I think a little bit of doubt seeped into my mind after last weekend. Like, oh no, these fighting nerds, they aren't invincible, which I guess Ian Gary already proved that when he beat Carlos Pratas. But whatever. But Jean Silva, probably the best one of the fighting nerds. I mean, he looks the best, technically, at least. He looks really good on the feet. His grappling looks pretty good. He has submissions on his record. How is his takedown defense though? How's his wrestling? Does he have the same hole in his game as Mauricio Ruffy did, or does at least? That's kind of a big question now in my mind. And will Diego Lopez try to wrestle? I think that's also a big question too. I don't know. Diego Lopez not typically known as a wrestler, not typically known to shoot on guys at all. I wonder how many takedowns he even has inside of the UFC. But Diego Lopez is a great grappler in his own right. So I wonder if the game plan is to wrestle with Jean Silva a little bit here. I am leaning towards Jean Silva winning here, but I am not confident in that after last weekend. I got to be honest. His teammates losing did put a lot of doubt in my mind. I feel like if Kyle Baralio and Mauricio Ruffy won last weekend, I would be much more confident in picking Jean Silva. I'm still gonna pick Jean Silva. I think he will win, probably a close decision. And I guess that brings into question: can Jean Silva go 5 rounds? We know Diego Lopez can, but can Jean Silva? I guess those questions will be answered. Yeah, I think it'll be a close decision win for Jean Silva. I think he will squeak out 3 rounds at least here. I think he's gonna look really good in the first round. He's very explosive in the first round, so I think he's gonna easily win the first round, and then after that it gets a little dicey. It gets more dicey as the fight goes on. But I do think he'll probably end up winning then like round 2, and then somewhere 3 through 5 he will win one of those rounds in my mind, if I had to guess. Jean Silva, of course, coming off the win over Bryce Mitchell from when was that? That was in April. I forget what pay-per-view card that was, but whatever. That was a stat card, whatever card it was. And then Diego Lopez, of course, coming off the loss to Alexander Volkanovski from back in April. Oh, I believe it was on this card actually. Huh. They both last fought on the same card, huh? Yeah, that makes sense. Diego Lopez coming off the loss to Alexander Volkanovski, like I was saying, which he didn't look great in that fight, but Alexander Volkanovski, one of the best of all time, best featherweight of all time. No shame in actually losing to him. So, and that was a big comeback performance for Alexander Volkanovski, and he was definitely on one that night. Of course, before that, had the big win over Brian Ortega back at that Sphere card from last year. And this kid's just been on fire ever since he got to the UFC. He came in the UFC on short notice with that short notice fight against Mozart Avilov, and that was a great fight. It was a close fight. He ended up losing that one, but then goes on a crazy, I believe, 4-fight win streak, and then gets a title shot before Mozart Evlov even sniffs a title shot. And then yeah, now we're here. Loses that. Now he's fighting John Silva. I guess this fight should be Yair with how much that was kind of built up between the animosity between Yair and Diego Lopez at that press conference. I forget which. I think that was at the April press conference, whatever pay-per-view that was. So maybe this fight should be Yair, but I still like this fight quite a bit. Like I was saying, John Silva coming off the win over Bryce Mitchell where he choked him out. And that's really his best win. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be so confident in picking John Silva here, but I'm still gonna pick him nonetheless. John Silva, kind of a similar story to Diego Lopez. Didn't lose his UFC debut, but still just came into the UFC on fire. Came off that big Contender Series win, and just went on a crazy 4-fight win streak, and here we are now. Maroney replaced someone in that lightweight, and then fought Drew Dober at lightweight and knocked him out. Like, that's fucking insane, especially considering Drew Dober's chin. So I don't know. Maybe John Silva can get Diego Lopez out of there. It's gonna be a great fight. I really am anticipating it. In your co-main event, then, Rob Font taking on David Martinez. David Martinez stepping in on short notice for Raul Rosas Jr., who had to pull out for some sort of injury, but I guess Rosas Jr. is already saying he's ready to go on the October card, so that's a bit of a shame here. I wish this fight would be much more hype if this was Raul Rosas Jr. on the co-main event. Fighting a guy like Rob Font, that'd be very exciting. But nonetheless, we get David Martinez here. David Martinez coming in at a plus 124. Rob Font coming in at a minus 158. Rob Font coming off the close win to Jean Masimoto from, God, I believe this was late last year, maybe. Or could have been earlier this year. Can't remember exactly. Doesn't matter. Which was a great fight. Another young, undefeated prospect that Rob Font kind of put back. It was a very close fight, though. A lot of people gave it to Masimoto. So can't blame them if they do. Of course, David Martinez's second fight in the UFC. He won his first fight in the UFC by TKO win. And, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that here. I tend to lean towards Rob Font. Anytime Rob Font fights a guy like this, a young prospect, he tends to win. He is getting older in age now, so it's going to get more and more difficult as he gets older. But I still think he's got enough in the tank here to put David Martinez away. So I'm gonna go Rob Font. Probably I actually don't know if I'll put him away. I'll probably go decision. Those Mexicans, they got great chin. So we're gonna go Rob Font by decision on that one. Next fight, Rafa Garcia taking on Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon coming in at minus 250. Rafa Garcia coming in at plus 190. Jared Gordon been looking very good lately, coming off 2 TKO wins in a row now. Poor Jared Gordon, probably most known for that Paddy Pimblett split decision loss, which everyone thought he won that fight. Rafa Garcia coming off a win over Vince Pichel from earlier this year. Rafa Garcia kind of been up and down in his UFC career, kind of win-loss for a little while now. We'll see if he's able to get one over on Jared Gordon here. I don't think so. I think Jared Gordon's kind of looking very good as of late. I don't think he's going to be able to get Rafa Garcia out of there like he's been able to do his past 2 opponents, but I do think he will win the fight. I'm going to go Jared Gordon by decision on this one. Of course, like I was saying, he's most known for that Paddy Pimblett split decision loss, which he should have won that fight. Paddy Pimblett should have one loss in the UFC, in my opinion. Next fight, Kevin Gastelum taking on Dustin Schultz. Just found out Kevin Gastelum came in 5 pounds overweight, weighing in at a big old 190 for this fight. Kevin Gastelum coming in at a minus 265. Dustin Schultz a plus 265. Yeah, Kevin Gastelum, man, just built like a fridge. You can't blame this guy for missing weight. Look at that body type. You know how hard it's got to be to cut weight with that? With a SpongeBob body type? Very difficult. But yeah, I am picking Kevin Gastelum here. Kevin Gastelum, one of my guys. I love Kevin Gastelum. I've loved his career ever since he won the Ultimate Fighter. So I'll be riding with him. I don't care if he misses weight. But no, he should really make weight. It's kind of ridiculous that he's missing weight at middleweight. Of course, Kevin Gastelum is coming off the loss to Joe Pyfer, the decision loss to Joe Pyfer from earlier this year, in which he looked okay in that fight. Not great. At least he didn't get knocked out. You know, Joe Pyfer probably the hardest hitter at middleweight right now, and he was not able to put out Kelvin Gastelum. He did drop him though. That was a dicey moment, but like I was saying, Mexicans, man, those chins, it's insane. It's fucking insane. Kelvin Gastelum, of course, been around for a long time now. Before that, he was coming off that win over Daniel Rodriguez. In which he looked pretty good in that fight. I don't know, man. Kelvin Gastelum hasn't really been able to keep a winning streak together here to get himself back into the rankings in middleweight or welterweight for a while now. And you know, I think he will get a win here over Dustin Schultz. I think he's just a better fighter than Dustin Schultz, but I don't know. It is looking like we are on the decline of Kelvin Gastelum's career here. We are kind of on the tail end, and I don't know if he's ever going to be able to get back into like a top 10 type of fight or into the UFC rankings ever again. But we'll see. I do think he'll pick up a win here, and then we'll go from there. Dustin Schultz coming off a loss in his last fight, and he's another guy that's kind of just been up down in his UFC career. Pretty much the entire time he's been win loss win loss. So we'll see if he's able to string a few together here. I do not think so. I think he will run into a fridge in Kelvin Gastelum, and he won't be able to move it. That was a bad joke. Next fight, Alexander Hernandez taking on Diego Ferreira. Alexander Hernandez coming in at minus 102. Diego Ferreira coming in at minus 120. This is very interesting. Alexander Hernandez coming off that win over Chase Hooper from back in Chicago just last month. Not even a full month ago. So very quick turnaround here. He won a fight in his hometown in San Antonio, Texas. So he gets his wish, and he's got a really tough fight ahead of him now. Diego Ferreira, a vet. You know, Diego Ferreira, one of those guys that's been around so long and has fought everyone and has beaten a lot of really high level competition. And it's gonna be a tough one for Alexander Hernandez here. Alexander Hernandez kind of most known for popping onto the scene and beating Benny Dariush on short notice, and then he had that crazy fight with Cowboy once he got knocked out, and everyone kind of thought he was a douchebag. Having a little turnaround story here is Alexander Hernandez, and I'm quite enjoying it. His personality has kind of shifted a little bit to a more likable guy, and I like it quite a bit. I like the story here, and I kind of hope Alexander Hernandez wins just to kind of keep it going. But I don't think he'll be able to. I think Diego Ferreira is just a little too good. Diego Ferreira coming off that loss to Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson, much different type of fight than Alexander Hernandez is. And of course, Diego Ferreira, like I was saying, fought everyone, beating a lot of guys, and is just a gritty vet. And he is almost 40 now, and that's kind of the dicey part for him. But I think he's just a little too good. I think he's gonna win a decision over Alexander Hernandez here. I think he's just a little too good everywhere. He's just a good MMA fighter, and that's gonna be a bit too much for Alexander Hernandez to handle. Next fight, I didn't really know what the hell they were putting on the main card here, so I'm just gonna go with this fight because I want to talk about it. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. I don't know. The UFC website has something listed differently than Tapology does. Has something listed differently than Wikipedia does. So I have no idea. But I'm going to talk about this fight. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Tatiana Suarez coming in at minus 430. Amanda Lemos coming in at plus 320. This fight's very interesting to me because this is like the real best women's strawweight, in my opinion, if Weili Zhang is out of the picture, which she currently is because she's moving up to flyweight to fight Valentina Shevchenko on that MSG pay-per-view later this year. And they have Mackenzie Dern versus Virna Jandiroba fighting for the belt. And I think both these women are kind of better than her and better than both of those fighters. In fact, Amanda Lemos has a very recent win over Mackenzie Dern. And I do think both these, I don't know if both these girls would beat Virna Jandiroba, but they would both beat Mackenzie Dern, that's for sure. No disrespect to Mackenzie Dern, of course, but whatever. Tatiana Suarez coming in at minus 430. Amanda Lemos coming in at plus 320. Tatiana Suarez, of course, coming off the loss to Weili Zhang, in which she had an incredibly good first round and then just completely dropped the ball. And Weili Zhang put on probably one of her most impressive performances in the UFC thus far. Amanda Lemos coming off the win over Yasmin Lucindo from earlier this year. Yeah, this is a great fight. I think it's a great women's strawweight fight. Definitely sets up a number one contender for the winner of Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern, and I'll be very interested to see it. I think Tatiana Suarez is gonna win. I think she'll probably win by submission. Probably go like second round, right around there, something like that, if I had to guess. And it'll be a nice bounce back performance for Tatiana Suarez. Here's my picks for the rest of the card. Picks are in green. I also have the method of which I think they're gonna win in the parentheses there. Yeah, decent card. Like I was saying, let's rank it. I'll give this card for the pre-fight rating on paper a little 6.6. I think it's a decent card. Like I was saying, so yeah, 6.6. Feel good about that. We will see what it gets in the post-fight rankings. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.